The first bullet point I think we'll go to is the rotate engines up or down, which has to do with basically how it takes off. So when it's about to take off, it would rotate its engines up, and then it would get up into the air, and then once in the air, it would then push these forward, and then that would be how it would fly. And then the same way for landing is it would do them down, and then it would come down like that. And that's how you get the volt vertical takeoff or landing. Then we have opening canopy, and it's really nice. Compared to the 1984 and 1990s Skyhawks, this has a new hinge on it, and so it's all enclosed. It looks a lot more realistic. It looks sturdier. It also has it where it's got glass or plastic, and the previous ones just had it with no plastic, and so it was an open canopy. Now, what's also nice too is they went and they molded the inside of the cockpit as well. With the canopy open, you can see it has a nicely new detailed cockpit as well. It has a joystick there, and computer consoles on the forearms, a nice seat. It kind of looks like another computer console here, but no real detail or sticker application there. And while we're here, we can show you the new hinge that is on this one versus the previous times when it was the Skyhawk. Now this bullet point is saying that there's removable engine panels, but it's actually pointing to the Volt engines, and that's not actually removable. We'll show you where the removable engine panel really is. So on this side you can see that there's really no indentions or anything around this exhaust as I would expect that to be. And then back here there's no indentation either. But if you bring it to the other side, you can see that there is one here of an indentation, and then also right there as well. And that's where you would take the panel off. So that's the detailed engine with the removable engine panel. So kind of nice that they have that, because previous versions didn't. It's always nice because you can have it set up where you have somebody working on it for a diorama or something like that. So really nice, but it does stay on. It's very secure. This bullet point here talks about the detachable missiles. It does come with two. I actually have them pegged underneath the body here, but if you want to, there's also this peg here, 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 and here. And maybe you say that it has these cannons in the front to defend itself, so it needs a way of defending itself from behind. So if you want to, you can have the missiles unpegged, and you can peg them underneath here, facing this way, or you can have them facing forward as well. I think it makes a lot more sense for them to be facing backwards though, because if you try and fire them this way, they're going to interact with the body too much. So just to make it a little more realistic. Now it is nice, it does have some painted detail here on the exhaust that they didn't have on the previous version when it was the Skyhawk. So it's really nice that they've added so much detail to this new version, even though they're calling it the Ghost Hawk. But so much is still very much like when it was back as the Skyhawk, but just really everything's just been pretty much amped up. Our next bullet point is the pivoting cannons. They don't really say which ones are which, but it looks like these ones are the thunderclap cannons that pivot back and forth. And it's kind of interesting because when I was a kid, they had a vehicle that was also called the Thunderclap. And so what I first was thinking that these had to be the Thunderclap before I had looked it up, because they're a lot larger, and like that toy, if you look it up, you'll see that it's basically a huge cannon as well. You know, it's got some other great things about it too, besides just being a large cannon, but you know, that's kind of how I made that connection. Now these are the Vulcan cannons right there, and just like the exhaust on the back, they've painted it with black to, you know, show that it's actually been used before. Our next bullet point is LiftTicket, the pilot. Here we have his portrait that has the helmet off, and then this is the figure with the helmet on. Not always the case with vehicle drivers. It's nice that LiftTicket has a stand that he comes with that says codename LiftTicket. has G.I. Joe Star and Stripes, and 2 pegs to help him stand up. Here we have him without his helmet on. The one from the 1980s would not have had a removable helmet, and it would have also had this mic. Now this mic, or a version of it from the 1980s, is really hard to find on the figure, and if you do find one that has the mic, you still have to watch out for reproductions, because people do reproductions of mics and antennas. Now, people have made comments about how he has this funny smirk on his face, but if you look at the LiftTicket that has come from the 80s, he does have this smirk. They've also made fun of his ears and stuff like that, but remember, we can't all be insert random heartthrob here. So I'm okay with it, and maybe there's people in his hometown in Oklahoma that look like this, so I'm okay with it. You know, it's kind of a classic redetailing of what he looked like when he was in the 80s, so it makes sense. I mean, a lot of times people are upset that we don't get unique sculpts for heads if you're a G.I. Joe collector, so to have one that looks very close to what he looked like in the 80s makes you know, a lot of sense to me. So he is very well detailed. He comes with a sheath that has a removable knife, which is nice, because just like with the stand, just because you get a sheath doesn't mean you're going to have a knife, or if you get a holster, it doesn't mean you're always going to get a gun. His uniform looks very much like he did from the 1980s too, so that's really nice. Lots of different detail on him. Really glad to have him. Here we have the new version of LiftTicket with the vehicle that the 1980s version of LiftTicket would have came with. This is the 1986 G.I. Joe Tomahawk. It is not complete, but I still wanted to bring it in for a HD. If you want to, you can go here to check out videos that are not in HD, but I did them when I was first starting out, and they're all about the Tomahawk. Now, this is a vehicle that I hope someday will be re-released. I know that we're getting the Sky Striker, but it looks like that's been downsized. Hopefully we'll get this re-released someday, and it will still be in this scale, so that way I'll have a complete one. I may even try and get a complete one later on down the road, because even though this isn't as big as the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier, the Flag, or the Space Complex, the Defiant Space Complex, I think this is still a holy grail for a lot of collectors, and it would be great to have this reimagined as they did with the Ghost Hawk. Although it's not a bullet point that's brought up on the back of the box, we do have nicely new molded landing skids, and they also now have 4 pegs on it, unlike the previous Skyhawk that only had the 2 pegs. So now you can have 4 figures pegged onto your Ghost Hawk. I hope you've enjoyed my take on the G.I. Joe Ghost Hawk with LiftTicket. I thank you for rating, commenting, subscribing, but above all, I thank you for allowing me to show that there's more to this toy collector than just playing with toys. Bye. We'll see you next time.